My wife worked at a mid-sized accounting firm downtown. Nothing fancy, standard corporate office where she handled tax returns and quarterly reports for small businesses. Her schedule was predictable. She left at 7:30 a.m., came home around 10 p.m. during tax season. Like clockwork. Except this week, the clock stopped working. Monday, she walked in at 11:45 p.m., blamed it on a difficult client who couldn't get their documents straight. Tuesday midnight. Same excuse, different client name I didn't bother remembering. Now it was Wednesday, and I was staring at my phone showing 11 p.m. Empty house. No text. No call. I sent her a message. Hey, getting worried. You okay? Nothing. I sat there on the couch, TV playing some late-night show I wasn't watching. My mind started doing what minds do when you're alone with your thoughts too long. Hospital? Accident? Should I call someone? Then something else crept in. A memory from 2 weeks ago. She forgot her access card. I drove to her office to drop it off. Walked into that sterile building with the humming fluorescent lights and bland gray cubicles. Found her desk, and there was Chris, one of her coworkers, standing way too close, leaning against her desk, smiling that smile. The kind of smile that wasn't about work. But what got me was her. The way she looked at him. The way she laughed, touched his arm. I handed her the card. She thanked me, barely made eye contact. Chris walked away. I left. I buried that moment. Told myself I was being paranoid. She's friendly. That's just how people are at work. But now, sitting here at 11 p.m. with no answer, that buried moment clawed its way back up. Third late night this week. Third excuse. Third time she barely kissed me when she got home. Just mumbled something and went straight to shower. My phone stayed silent. 11:30 p.m. Midnight. 1 a.m. I wasn't worried anymore. I was connecting dots. Chris. That smile. Her laugh. The late nights. The immediate showers. The way she turned her phone screen down when I walked by lately. The new perfume. The sudden interest in going to the gym. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe she genuinely was stuck with work. But something in my gut, that primal instinct we all have and usually ignore, was screaming at me. 2 a.m. My phone screen lit up. Sorry about this. Something unexpected came up. I'll be home soon. I stared at that message. Something unexpected. At 2 a.m. For the third time this week. My fingers moved before my brain caught up. I know the name of your unexpected. It's Chris. Hope you enjoyed. Send. I switched my phone to Do Not Disturb, placed it face down on the coffee table, and waited. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. If I was wrong, we'd laugh about this tomorrow. If I was right, well, at least I'd know. The phone started vibrating. Over and over. Incoming calls. Messages. I didn't look. Just sat there in the dark living room, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, feeling strangely calm. Because deep down, I already knew the answer. I just needed her to confirm it. 25 minutes later, I heard tires on the driveway. But not just one car door. 2. She brought backup. I stood up, grabbed my phone, opened the voice recorder app, hit record, and slipped it back in my pocket. Then I walked to the front door and unlocked it. Time to see what kind of story she came up with this time. The door opened, and she walked in with someone I recognized from the company photo board in her office lobby. Diane something. Mid-30s, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, hair in a messy bun, eyes barely open. She looked like she'd been dragged out of bed, which she probably had. My wife, on the other hand, looked wide awake. Panicked, but awake. Baby, thank God you're up. I can explain everything. She rushed toward me, but I held up one hand. She stopped. Diane, right. I looked past my wife directly at the other woman. Diane nodded, uncomfortable. Yeah. Hi. Thanks for coming over at this hour. Must have been important. I kept my tone neutral, almost friendly. My wife's eyes darted between us. It was a work emergency. My wife jumped in. We had a massive issue with the Fletcher account. Tax documents were completely wrong, and the audit is tomorrow morning. We've been at the office for hours trying to fix it. Fletcher account. I nodded slowly. That's the one with the manufacturing business, right? She blinked. Yes, exactly. I turned back to Diane. You work on that account too? Diane shifted her weight. I've helped with some of their quarterly reports. So you know about this emergency tonight? Diane glanced at my wife. Yeah. My wife moved closer, animated now, building momentum with her story. The numbers weren't adding up. We realized someone had entered revenue in the wrong fiscal quarter. If we didn't catch it before the audit, Fletcher could have been fined thousands. We couldn't just leave it. Sounds stressful. I sat down on the arm of the couch. Casual. Why didn't you call me? Let me know you'd be late again. My phone died. I texted as soon as I got to the car. At 2 a.m. Yes. After the third late night this week. She swallowed. Tax season is brutal. You know this. I looked at Diane again. She was staring at the floor. Diane, what time did you two start working on this Fletcher emergency? Around. She paused. Around 9 p.m., I think. You think or you know? I know. 9 p.m. My wife nodded eagerly. Yes, exactly. We ordered dinner from that Thai place on 5th Street and just powered through. Thai place on 5th closes at 9:30 p.m. on weeknights, I said. They'd have to deliver pretty fast. The room went quiet. My wife recovered first. We ordered before they closed. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is we fixed the problem, and I'm home now. I stood up, walked slowly toward her. She smiled, thinking she was winning. That's when I saw it. A faint mark on her neck, just above her collar. She tried to cover it, but the makeup had smudged during her rush home. You've got something on your neck. I pointed. Her hand flew up instinctively. Oh, just a rash. The office has been so dry lately. Looks like a bruise. It's nothing. I walked past her to the kitchen. Her purse was on the counter where she dropped it when she came in. Anyone want water? I called out. I'm fine, Diane said quickly. Me too, my wife added. I grabbed a glass, filled it, took my time. While my back was turned, I glanced into her purse. The zipper was half open. Right there on top, not even buried. Small box of condoms. Travel-sized bottle of lubricant. She didn't even bother hiding it. She probably thought she'd have time to dump everything before coming home. My text caught her off guard. I walked back to the living room, sipping my water. So, Diane, this Fletcher account emergency. What specifically was wrong with the quarterly report? Diane's face went pale. The revenue allocation. Right. And which quarter was it entered wrong? Third quarter. She said it too fast. Interesting. Because my wife just said it was entered in the wrong fiscal quarter. Fiscal quarters and calendar quarters aren't always the same thing. Which one was it? Diane looked at my wife. My wife looked at Diane. Neither spoke. I set my water down. Here's what's actually interesting. You both just told me slightly different stories. About the same emergency that you supposedly worked on together. For 5 hours. We're tired, my wife tried. It's been a long night. I bet it has. I looked at Diane again. Not aggressive. Just direct. Diane, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. Were you actually at the office with my wife tonight? Diane's lip trembled. She looked at my wife, then at the floor, then back at me. Tell him the truth, I said quietly. Because I already know it. I just want to hear you say it. I'm sorry, Diane whispered. She called me at 2:15 a.m. asking me to come over and back up her story. I shouldn't have agreed. I'm so sorry. My wife's face drained of color. Diane, what are you? Where was she really tonight? I cut my wife off, eyes still on Diane. Diane was crying now. With Chris. They've been seeing each other for months. Everyone at the office knows. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be here. This isn't right. Automo. I pulled out my phone. Exactamente como imagini. I stopped the recording, held up the screen so they could both see the timer. 18 minutes and 37 seconds. My wife stared at the phone, then at me. You recorded this? Every word. I pocketed it. Now get out. Diane practically ran for the door. She mumbled another apology and disappeared into the night. Smart woman. Knew when to cut her losses. My wife just stood there, frozen. Then the panic set in. Wait. Baby, please. Let me explain. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed her purse, and dropped it at her feet. You didn't even have time to throw away the evidence. Condoms. Lubricant. Right there on top. Were you planning to use those with me? Or were you just too rushed to clean up after your date with Chris? She looked down at the purse. Back up at me. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Let me tell you what I think happened tonight. I continued. You were with Chris. Probably at that motel off Highway 42, the one with hourly rates. You lost track of time. Got my text at 11 p.m. and ignored it because you were busy. Then at 2 a.m., you finally checked your phone and saw my message. Panicked. Called poor Diane in the middle of the night begging her to help you cover. Threw together some story about a client emergency. Rushed over here thinking you could sell it. Tears started running down her face. Please. I made a mistake. A mistake. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. You've been sleeping with your coworker for months. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Multiple choices, actually. Every single time you left this house to meet him. I'll end it. I'll quit my job. Whatever you want. What I want. I stepped closer. Not threatening. Just direct. What I want is for you to stop insulting my intelligence. You didn't slip and fall onto Chris. You pursued this. You planned every meeting. You bought protection. You lied to my face. 3 times just this week. She reached for my arm. I pulled back. You used your friend at 2 a.m. to try and fool me. You didn't even have the respect to come clean when I gave you the chance. You walked in here ready to perform, to manipulate, to lie some more. The only reason you're crying now is because you got caught. Not because you feel guilty. Because you got caught. That's not true. I love you. You love me. I pointed at her purse. Is that what love looks like? Because from where I'm standing, love looks like honesty, respect, loyalty. You know what you look like right now? Pathetic. Her face crumpled. Don't say that. Why not? It's accurate. You're so pathetic you dragged Diane into this mess. Made her lie for you. Put her in an impossible position. Do you think she wanted to be here? She came because she felt sorry for you. And you know what? I actually respect her more than you right now. At least she had the decency to tell the truth when pushed. My wife sank onto the couch, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo months of lying. Sorry doesn't make me unhear Diane confirm what I already knew. I grabbed my keys from the counter. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take your purse, get in your car, and leave. Go to Diane's. Go to Chris's. Go to a motel. I don't care. But you're not staying here. This is my home too. Actually, it's not. This house is in my name. I bought it 2 years before we got married. You have zero legal claim to it. So when I tell you to leave, you leave. She stood up, anger flashing through the tears. You can't just kick me out. Watch me. I pulled out my phone again. I have 18 minutes of recorded confession. I have physical evidence in your purse. I have a witness who confirmed your affair. You want to make this difficult? Fine. I'll send this recording to your entire office, to your parents, to everyone we know. Or you can leave quietly, and we can handle this like adults through lawyers. The anger drained out of her. She knew I wasn't bluffing. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. You should have thought about that before you decided Chris was more important than your marriage. She picked up her purse with shaking hands, walked to the door, turned back one more time. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. Repeatedly. For months. And you would have kept doing it if I hadn't caught you tonight. That's the part you still don't get. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. She left. Didn't slam the door. Just closed it quietly behind her. I heard her car start. Listened to it back out of the driveway. Waited until the engine sound faded completely. Then I sat down on the couch and pulled up my contacts. Scrolled to my buddy Nathan's number. He was a divorce attorney. We played basketball every Thursday. He told me once that if I ever needed anything, call him anytime. It was 3:17 a.m. I called anyway. He answered on the third ring, groggy. This better be an emergency. It is. I need a divorce lawyer. I heard rustling on his end. Him sitting up. Are you serious? Completely. How fast can you make this happen? With evidence? Very fast. What do you have? Recorded confession. Physical evidence. Witness testimony. Months of documented affair. Nathan whistled. Bring everything to my office at 9 a.m. We'll have papers filed by noon. Thanks, man. Hey, you okay? I looked around the empty living room. My house. My space. Free of lies and manipulation. Yeah, actually, I am. I hung up. Set an alarm for 7:30 a.m. And for the first time in weeks, I slept like a rock. I woke up at 7:30 a.m. feeling clearer than I had in months. First thing I did was change my Facebook status to single. Then I blocked her on everything. Phone, social media, email, complete blackout. By 8:45 a.m., I was sitting in Nathan's office with my phone, ready to play him the recording. He listened to the whole thing, took notes. When Diane's confession came through the speakers, he actually smiled. This is airtight. She can't contest anything with this evidence. How long until I'm free? Texas has a 60-day waiting period minimum for divorce. But with this evidence and no children or joint property, it'll be straightforward. She might try to claim she deserves alimony or a settlement, but that recording kills any sympathy a judge might have. She signed a prenup. Nathan's smile widened. Even better. We'll have papers drawn up today. She'll be served by Friday. I left his office feeling lighter. Grabbed breakfast at a diner on 8th Street. Checked my old blocked messages out of curiosity. 43 texts from her. I deleted them without reading. Around 11 a.m., my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered. You absolute bastard. It was her. Calling from someone else's phone. How'd you get this number? I borrowed a phone. We need to talk. No, we don't. Talk to my lawyer. I hung up. She called back immediately. I declined. She tried 5 more times. I blocked that number too. At 2 p.m., her mother called. I answered that one. What is going on? She's at my house sobbing, saying you threw her out in the middle of the night. Did she tell you why? Silence. Then, she said there was a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. She's been having an affair with a coworker named Chris for months. I have proof. She's getting divorce papers by Friday. More silence. Then her mother's voice cracked. Oh God, is this true? Ask her about the recording. Ask her why she showed up at 2:30 a.m. with a coworker to lie about where she'd been. Ask her about what was in her purse. I heard crying in the background. Her mother hung up. That afternoon, I went to Home Depot. Bought new locks for the front and back doors. Installed them myself. Took about 90 minutes. Changed the garage code too. Every access point secured. By Thursday, the story had spread through her office like wildfire. Diane felt guilty about being used, so she told 2 other coworkers what happened. They told others. By lunchtime, everyone knew. I know this because my wife's friend Tessa called me Wednesday night. She'd heard the story from someone in accounting. Is it true? About Chris? Yes. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Did you notice anything? When we all went to that office barbecue in July. Tessa hesitated. Honestly, yeah, they stood close. Laughed at each other's jokes too much. But I thought I was reading into it. You weren't. What a mess. Chris is married too, you know. I didn't know that. Seriously? Yeah. His wife works in marketing. I wonder if she knows. She will soon. I thanked Tessa and hung up. Friday morning, the process server caught my wife at her mother's house. She called me screaming about it from yet another borrowed phone. I let it go to voicemail. Listen to it later. Lots of cursing. Threats about fighting the divorce. Empty words. Nathan called me Friday afternoon. She got the papers. Her reaction. Loud. They usually are. She has 30 days to respond. I doubt she'll contest. The prenup is solid, and that recording makes her look terrible. What about Chris? What about him? He's married. Should I tell his wife? Nathan considered that. Morally? That's your call. Legally? It won't affect your divorce. But it might blow up his life, which sounds like fair consequences to me. I thought about it all weekend. By Sunday, I decided. I didn't know Chris's wife personally, but I knew her name from office conversations. Found her on Facebook. Sent her a message. Hi, you don't know me, but my name is attached to a situation involving your husband. I think we should talk. Here's my number. She called within an hour. Who is this? My wife worked with your husband. Past tense. I filed for divorce this week after discovering they'd been having an affair for months. Dead silence. Then what? I have proof. A recorded confession from a witness. If you want to hear it, I can send it to you. Send it. I sent the audio file. Waited. 20 minutes later, she called back. Her voice was ice. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Better than not finding out at all. She hung up. By Monday morning, Chris's life imploded. His wife confronted him Sunday night. He denied everything. She called Diane directly, who confirmed it all. By Monday, Chris's wife had moved out. She'd also called his boss to report the affair as a workplace ethics violation. Their company had strict policies about office relationships, especially ones involving deception and misconduct during work hours. Chris was put on administrative leave pending investigation. I heard all this from Tessa, who was gleefully updating me on the chaos. Your wife tried to come to work today, walked in like nothing happened. Everyone stared at her. She lasted 2 hours before leaving in tears. HR wants to talk to her tomorrow about the ethics complaint. Good. You sound cold. I'm practical. She made choices. Now she's dealing with consequences. That's how life works. Tuesday, my wife's desperation reached new levels. She showed up at my house at 6 p.m., pounded on the door. Her key didn't work anymore, obviously. I know you're in there. Open this door. I didn't. Just turned up the TV volume and ignored her. She pounded for 10 minutes, then left. Wednesday, Nathan called with an update. She hired a lawyer. Some guy named Caldwell from a strip mall office. He's already trying to negotiate. Negotiate what? The prenup covers everything. He's claiming emotional distress, saying you humiliated her by recording her without consent. Texas is a one-party consent state. I was party to the conversation. I know. I told him that. He backed down immediately. Sounds like she hired the cheapest lawyer she could find. Because she can't afford better. Her parents aren't wealthy, and she burned through her savings on hotels with Chris. Poetic justice. Nathan paused. She's going to sign. Her lawyer knows she has no case. We'll have this finalized in 60 days, maybe less. Perfect. I hung up and ordered pizza. Watched a movie. Slept well. For the first time in months, I wasn't wondering where she was or what she was doing. I already knew the answer. She was facing consequences. 3 weeks after filing, things accelerated faster than expected. My wife's lawyer advised her to sign everything without contest. Nathan was right. The prenup, the recording, the evidence, it all made fighting pointless and expensive. She tried reaching out one last time through her father. He called me on a Saturday morning. Son, I know what she did was wrong, but she's struggling. Lost her job yesterday. Can barely afford to eat. Is there any way you two could talk? She lost her job? The company let her go. Something about the affair violating workplace conduct policy. Chris got fired too. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No pity. Just nothing. That's unfortunate. But it's not my problem. She's my daughter. I'm trying to help her. Then help her sign the papers and move on. Every day she delays costs her money she doesn't have. Her lawyer is billing her hourly for a case she can't win. He sighed. You've really written her off. She wrote herself off the moment she chose Chris over her marriage. I'm just following through. I paused. Look, I don't hate her. I don't wish her harm. But I also don't owe her anything. She made adult decisions. Now she faces adult consequences. He hung up without another word. 2 days later, Nathan called. She signed. Everything. No modifications. Divorce will be final in 3 weeks when the waiting period ends. That's it. That's it. You're free. I thanked him and sat back on my couch. It felt anticlimactic. Months of marriage, years of history, ended with a signature on paper. But that's how it goes sometimes. Not with explosions or drama, just paperwork and silence. The next 3 weeks passed quietly. I started going to the gym 4 times a week. Reconnected with my friend Kyle, who I'd lost touch with during the marriage. We grabbed beers on Thursdays and watched football on Sundays. You seem different, Kyle said one night at his place. More relaxed. I'm not constantly wondering if I'm being lied to anymore. That's relaxing. Fair point. You planning to date again? Eventually. Not rushing it. Good call. Focus on yourself first. That's exactly what I did. Sold her car that was still registered in my name. Used the money to renovate the guest bathroom. Started cooking again, something I'd stopped doing because she always complained about my recipes. Tessa kept me updated on the aftermath at the office, though I didn't ask. Apparently, my ex-wife applied for unemployment but got denied because she was terminated for cause. Chris's wife filed for divorce too. He moved into a studio apartment on the rough side of town because it was all he could afford after his wife took the house. My ex-wife ended up renting a room in a house with 3 other people. According to Tessa, she was working at a Target now, stocking shelves overnight. Not exactly the career trajectory she'd planned. Do you feel bad? Tessa asked me during one of our catch-up calls. Should I? I don't know. She lost everything. She risked everything. There's a difference. I didn't make her cheat. I didn't force her to lie. She chose that. These are just the consequences of her choices. That's pretty cold. It's accurate. You want me to feel guilty because she's facing the results of her own actions? That's not how accountability works. The divorce finalized on a Tuesday in October. I got the notification via email from Nathan. Officially single. I forwarded the email to my parents, who'd been asking for updates. My mom called immediately. How are you feeling? Honestly, relieved. No regrets. About ending it? None. About who I married? Plenty. But that's a learning experience. You'll find someone better. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just enjoy being single for a while. Both options sound good right now. I hung up and looked around my house. My space. No lies. No drama. No wondering where someone was at 2 a.m. About a month after the divorce finalized, I ran into my ex-wife at a Kroger on a Sunday afternoon. I was grabbing ingredients for chili. She was in the checkout line ahead of me with a basket of generic brand items and instant noodles. She saw me, froze. Her face went through several emotions. Shame, anger, sadness. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. I looked right through her, didn't acknowledge her, didn't nod, just looked past her like she was a stranger. Moved to a different checkout line. I heard her breath catch. Saw her hands shake as she paid for her groceries. She left quickly. Kyle asked me about it later when I told him. That had to feel good. It didn't feel like anything. That's the point. She's not part of my life anymore. Not my concern. Not my problem. Just someone I used to know. Cold-blooded. Nah, just done. There's a difference. By December, I'd completely moved on. Started dating someone I met at the gym. Nothing serious yet, but it was nice. She was straightforward, honest, communicated like an adult. Funny how simple qualities like honesty feel revolutionary after dealing with someone who lied as easily as breathing. Christmas came. I spent it with my parents and Kyle's family. My ex-wife spent it working overnight at Target, according to Tessa's last update. I didn't ask for that information. Didn't need it. But Tessa volunteered it anyway, probably expecting some reaction. That's rough, I said neutrally. You really don't care, do you? I don't wish her harm. But I also don't feel responsible for fixing her life. She's an adult. Adults handle their own problems. That seemed to satisfy Tessa. She stopped giving me updates after that. New Year's came. I made one resolution. Keep moving forward. No looking back. Because the truth is, my life got infinitely better the moment I stopped tolerating disrespect. The moment I stopped making excuses for someone else's behavior. The moment I chose my own dignity over false hope. My ex-wife made her choices. I made mine. She chose Chris, lies, and shortcuts. I chose honesty, boundaries, and self-respect. And in the end, one of us was still living in their own house, thriving, surrounded by genuine people. The other was stocking shelves at 2 a.m. in a shared rental room. Consequences have a way of finding the right people. I just made sure I wasn't one of them. 6 months after everything ended, I was sitting at a bar with Kyle watching March Madness when someone tapped my shoulder. Chris. He looked terrible, thinner, tired, defeated. Can we talk? He asked. Kyle tensed beside me, but I waved him off. Make it quick. Chris sat down, ordered a beer he clearly couldn't afford. I wanted to apologize. What I did was wrong. I destroyed 2 marriages. Ruined lives. You're apologizing to the wrong person. Your ex-wife deserves that conversation. So does your kid, if you have one. I have 2. They won't talk to me. Can't imagine why. I took a drink. What do you want, Chris? Forgiveness? You won't get it. Understanding? Don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Noted. Now leave. He stood up, dropped the 20 on the bar, and walked out. Kyle whistled low. That took guts. That took desperation. He's looking for someone to make him feel better about his choices. Not my job. That was the last time I thought about either of them. A year after the divorce, I proposed to the woman I'd met at the gym. Her name was Lauren. She said yes. We got married in a small ceremony with close friends and family. No drama. No lies. Just 2 people who chose each other honestly. My ex-wife heard about it somehow. Sent a message through a mutual acquaintance asking if we could talk. I never responded. Because some chapters closed completely. No epilogue. No revision. Just done. I learned something valuable from that whole mess. You can't control other people's choices. But you can control how you respond. You can choose dignity over desperation, boundaries over begging, self-respect over second chances that were never deserved. My ex-wife chose poorly. I chose myself. And honestly, that made all the difference. Life moved on. I moved on. She probably did too, eventually. But I never looked back to check. Because forward was the only direction that mattered.